The woods don't lie, you know. Out here, when the sun finally punches through the pines and the air tastes like cold stone and old needles, there's a sort of honesty you just don't get anywhere else. The city? Hell, the city wouldn't recognize this kind of honesty if it sat down next to it at a four-way stop. No horns, no HOA memos about what shade of beige your mailbox should be, no whispers behind your back about property values. Just wind, birds, and a kind of silence that digs deep in your chest and makes you remember you're just a collection of bones on borrowed land. That was my life. At least, that was the deal I made with myself when I bought this patch of stubborn granite on the edge of Placer County. I'm Jack Turner, 20 years in the Army, 5 more bouncing between jobs that kept the lights on, but, honestly, just put a slow leak in my soul. Then, out of the blue, or maybe out of pure desperation, I found myself signing a deed for 20 acres of hills, a creek, and a stand of pines that didn't care what I used to do. It wasn't much, but for once, it was mine, in a way nobody could talk circles around. Most mornings, it was just me, a mug of burnt coffee, and a list of chores longer than the winter. I'd check the water line that ran from the spring, clear the brush trying to swallow the south fence, maybe wander the ridge with my old Remington. Not so much hunting as looking for proof I wasn't the only living thing left. And sometimes, if I felt the weight of the world a little too much, I'd just stand there and let the silence roll over me until it filled up all the cracks. But let me tell you, peace doesn't last. Especially not out here, where the quiet can turn on you in an instant. It was a Tuesday, one of those blue sky mornings that make you think maybe things you'll work out. Coffee warming my insides, shotgun tucked loose under my arm. I was halfway down the ridge, mentally arguing with myself about whether to patch the shed roof before the next storm, when I heard it. Metal on rock, then another metallic thunk. Not the random clatter of wildlife. This was measured, intentional, like someone was out here laying claim. I moved slow through the trees, heart doing that old soldier's dance. As the clearing opened up, I saw them, 3 guys in neon orange vests and bright yellow hard hats, tripods stabbing at the sky, gadgets everywhere. One guy drove a stake into the ground. Another aimed a theodolite right at my cabin, like he was lining up a shot. 70 yards from my porch, my front door. First thought? County maintenance. Utility check. Maybe they got the map upside down. But then I looked closer. These guys weren't fixing anything. They were marking territory, my territory. Like settlers pretending the folks already living here didn't matter. That cold feeling hit my gut. My grip on the Remington tightened. My boots crunched dry grass, loud as a warning bell, but they were too busy to notice. Finally, I let my voice roll out across the clearing. Hey. Just one word, but you could hang a lifetime of command on it. The tallest guy, bald, clipboard hugged tight, looked up like I was the one out of place. He didn't blink, just squinted at me like he was about to lecture a slow student. The youngest guy shifted from foot to foot, real fidgety, while the third never looked up, just kept fiddling with the survey gear, jaw tight. But they knew. They all knew. And I came down that hill like a thunderhead, Remington hanging loose, but high enough that nobody'd mistake me for friendly. Clipboard guy raised a hand. Morning, he said, cool as a bank teller. We've got a work order, Ridge Valley Summit HOA, survey project, right-of-way easement planning. That word, easement, snapped at me like a dog. On whose authority? I barked, stepping closer. He flicked his tablet, chin high. HOAs. This stretch is in a disputed corridor zone. You should have been notified. I laughed, sharp and ugly. You're 60 yards onto private land, pal. My land. Nothing disputed about it. The kid shifted, eyes jumping between me and the shotgun. We're just doing our job, sir. We were given maps. Yeah? From who? Santa Claus? I could feel the air go tight. You learn, after enough time in rough places, the exact moment before things go sideways. My thumb brushed the safety, just so everyone, including me, remembered it was there. I'm calling the sheriff, I said, phone already out. Placer County, this is Jack Turner. Unauthorized surveyors on my property. No permission, no notice. Gave them my GPS coordinates, dead accurate, deed matched, sealed, and notarized. The clearing got real quiet. Clipboard guy, Rick, I'd learn later, just smirked. This is going to escalate unnecessarily. It already has, I shot back. You're standing on a felony. He lifted his tablet, showed me a glowing map, red perimeter bleeding over my hillside, my cabin smack inside a community development zone. I didn't touch it. Didn't need to. That map's not worth the pixels it's printed on, I said. Rick's lips curled. We were told to expect resistance. Not resistance, I told him, voice low. Just law. That's when I heard engines in the distance. Patrol SUVs climbing my gravel road. I stared Rick down. You might want to pack up. He didn't move. The first cruiser rolled up, dust spinning behind it. Two deputies stepped out, one older, buzz-cut, jaw like bedrock, the other young, trying to look like this wasn't his first real call. I raised my hand. That's them. They're on private land. Mine. No notice, no permission. Rick swaggered forward, all confidence. Deputies, we're here for Ridge Valley Summit HOA. Active boundary dispute, future easement, documentation provided. The older deputy put up a hand. One at a time. Name? Rick Coleman, licensed contractor. The deputy turned to me. And you're Turner? That's right. This land's mine, bought clean. Never under HOA jurisdiction. Proof? I handed over my envelope. Deed, GPS boundary map, county recording, drone footage, parcel ID. Everything but my blood type. While the deputy sifted, Rick shoved his tablet at the younger one. Updated parcel map shows HOA's revised perimeter. The deputy blinked. That reflects Ridge Valley's planned integration. Planned integration doesn't rewrite title law. I cut in. Not unless you're God. Rick's jaw twitched. This'll be sorted administratively. No, it won't, I said. You redrew a line and hoped nobody'd notice. Deputies exchanged looks. Well, this does seem murky, the young one offered. It's not murky, I said, voice hard. You've got my deed, my GPS, my footage. No easement, no consent, not a misunderstanding. It's an encroachment. Silence. Then the older deputy handed the tablet back. You know you're not supposed to work on disputed land without notice to the landowner, right? Rick's face stiffened. Our orders came from the HOA board. The deputy shrugged. Then maybe Ridge Valley can pay your legal fees, because you're leaving now. You come back without a court order. That's criminal trespass. The two younger surveyors packed up fast, but Rick lingered, glowering. This'll delay the whole project, he muttered. Maybe you should have knocked on my door first, I said. As they drove off, Rick leaned in, voice just for me. You're not going to win this, pal. They've already scheduled the install. You're in the way. I stared back, shotgun slung. I've seen men try to scare me with worse than paperwork. I'm still here. He left without another word. When the deputies rolled away, I was alone, just me and the stake they'd left in my soil. I yanked it out with my boot, tossed it behind the shed. The war had just started. That night, sleep wouldn't come. The surveyors were gone, but their threat clung to the walls like mildew. Rick's words echoed. They've already scheduled the install. That wasn't bravado. That was someone who knew the fix was in. So, I did what I always do when the world feels like it's closing in. I went to work. My office is a corner of the cabin, stacked with battered monitors, a coffee machine that predates most of the deputies in the county, and enough hard drives to bury anyone in paperwork. I opened a folder, Ridge Valley Encroachment Evidence Log. First stop, County GIS portal. I've lived off maps in places where a bad ridge line meant you didn't come home, so this was familiar ground. There it was, my property, parcel ID clear, no overlaps, no shared boundaries. Then I clicked the expansion overlay. A new line shimmered south, pushing into my ridge, right where they'd planted their dam stakes. Not an accident. This was baked into some plan, logged, and floating in the system for months. I dug deeper. Hartman Consulting and Mapping Solutions. The same name from Rick's tablet. Their website looked like a Wall Street ad, full of corporate speak, integrated boundary redefinition, parcel optimization. I found a section labeled Community Challenges, a write-up about pacifying resistance during HOA integration. Like I was some insurgent, not a landowner. Scrolling, I hit a gold mine, or poison, depending on how you see it, a YouTube link. Dr. Stephen Hartman, salt and pepper hair, glasses thick as my old boots, stood in front of a whiteboard explaining California boundary law. There's my ridge on the screen, with animated lines crawling right up to my cabin. By integrating these parcels, we promote equity and civic good, he said. Civic good. Yeah, right. I called Dan Miller, a county clerk who used to serve with me. You ever heard of Hartman Consulting? He groaned. Yeah, weird stuff comes in with their name on it. Approvals nobody remembers signing. I'll look into Ridge Valley for you. An hour later, he sent me scanned docs. Ridge Valley's application to pre-zone future infrastructure corridors. Not stamped, not legal, just circulated, with my parcel marked, pending confirmation. They were counting on nobody noticing. Well, I noticed. I clipped every screenshot, saved every file, started a folder called Hartman Fraud. Because this wasn't a dispute anymore, it was war by PowerPoint, and I'd fought worse. Next morning, the mail brought a real beauty. A letter, supposedly from me, saying I'd cut off water access, restrict easements, put up a fence, stuff I never said. At the bottom, my signature. Well, a forgery close enough to fool a busy clerk. Someone had lifted it from my old insurance forms. They wanted me to look like the problem. I called the county, told them it was fake. Called Dan, somebody at Ridge Valley filed a fake complaint using my signature. I spat. 2 hours later, he called back. Filed from a computer at the HOA office. That evening, an email landed in my inbox. Anonymous, zipped folder full of internal HOA emails. Plans to label Turner hostile, bury him in filings, use his military background against him. If I went public, they'd play the unstable vet angle. Classic smear. I didn't sleep. I just started building a war chest. Evidence, screenshots, maps, fake complaints, every dirty trick. By Monday, I'd filed a complaint in Superior Court. Unauthorized land use, forgery, conspiracy. The clerk looked at my stack and whistled. Within days, the sheriff's office raided the HOA. Boxes out the door, Karen Whitfield, the HOA president, on vacation. Hartman, nowhere to be seen. But that wasn't the end. That night, a shadow skulked along my fence. Not Rick, someone quicker, snapping photos. I ran them off, found a fresh stake hammered in. Message received. Next morning, a blog post went up. Hostile landowner threatens HOA safety. Details pointed right at me. They were pushing the dangerous vet narrative, just like the emails said. Dan called. They're pushing your story to county supervisors, trying to get you flagged as a threat. That night, a black SUV idled by my gate. Engine off, lights out. I racked the shotgun and stepped outside. They peeled away, gravel spraying. Just testing me. After that, I hardened the perimeter. Cams, lights, more signs. Armed owner on site. Not subtle, but subtlety didn't get you far anymore. Then came the courthouse. Every seat packed. Karen, Hartman, a prosecutor, reporters, even a law professor from Sacramento. I stood, binder under my arm, projector humming. Laid out the case, forged maps, drone footage, faked overlays, YouTube clips, internal emails planning the whole thing. Karen's lawyer tried to object. The judge shut him down. The evidence spoke for itself. Forgery, conspiracy, fraud. Karen got cuffed right there. Hartman lost his license. The trust behind it all. Investigated by the state. Big, public mess. But you know what? As I walked out, victory felt hollow. The comments online called me unhinged, crazy vet, claimed I'd escalated everything. The smear machine kept grinding. And that night, another SUV parked in the dark. A week later, Dan called. This goes deeper, Jack. Hartman's consulting for other HOAs. Same playbook, different landowners. I wasn't the only target, just the loudest. The next threat came quiet. An envelope, no return address. Leave the ridge, Jack. Accidents happen. I burned it, but the message was clear. Then my shed caught fire. Arson, plain as day. Dan drove up, jaw tight. You can't keep this up. They want you to break. But I wasn't going anywhere. We dug deeper, found the trust had already sold future easements on my land to telecoms. They were betting on me folding before the ink dried. The fight moved from woods to boardrooms, from dirty boots to headlines. But I fought back. Uploaded the war chest to cloud drives. Sent it everywhere. Press, law schools, politicians. Made it public. They wanted a test case. I gave them one. When the next breach came, it wasn't contractors. It was professionals, 3 of them, night vision, suppressed pistols. I'd rigged the fence with alarms and tripwires. When the flares lit up the ridge, I fired a warning shot. Took them down at gunpoint, zip-tied them, called the sheriff. By morning, news trucks crowded the gate. The war chest spread statewide. Karen lost everything. Hartman got blacklisted, the trust raided and charged. But the big fish? They slipped away, new names on old schemes. And even as I stood on my porch, shotgun in my lap, the woods felt quiet again, too quiet. A black sedan slid by, a silhouette watching from the back seat. Not the end, just a pause. That night, Dan brought bourbon. We sat by the fire pit, dogs curled up at our feet. You realize this case is being taught in law schools now, he said. Yeah, well, they'd better teach the real lesson. The fight never ends. The fronts just move. For a long time, we listened to the woods, the fire crackling, the creek running somewhere out in the dark. Then Dan raised his glass. To the ridge. To the ridge, I echoed. And for one brief moment, the woods felt honest again. But you can bet, I kept the weight of vigilance close, because out here, you learn quick. A man who knows his boundaries can't be bought, bullied, or erased with a forgery. Out here, the line holds. Now, I've told you my piece, but let's be honest, the story doesn't stop here. What would you do if it was your land, your fight? Where's the line between defending what's yours and losing yourself to the battle? Drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Where do you draw your line? Because justice out here doesn't come easy, and it sure as hell doesn't come quiet.